Okay. So first, we're going to jump straight into the testing portion of today's presentation. Today's testing portion is given by Miss Crystal Goldsmith. She isn't here today, but she has graciously given us a recording of the most important tips if your student has to do testing sometime this year. So it's great to listen to this presentation, especially if you've been called for testing or you may have a student in the future be called for testing.
Hello, HCCA's learning coaches. Today I'm presenting information about the testing. My name is Crystal Goldsmith. I am the Hoosier College and Career Academy's testing coordinator. I set up all testing, schedule all the sites, and make sure that your students are aware of the test dates and that you're aware of the test dates and your locations for testing. So I'm going to present a little bit about our SAT test and our iLearn test that is coming up in the next 2 months. So I'm going to start with SAT. SAT is a requirement for all 11th graders. It is a state required in-person test. It fulfills a bucket for graduation, which I'm going to talk about. Check LCs. I need you to check your email from testing environment, confirm your location, time, and day. Please answer your phone calls from our site leads. They're calling and texting to confirm as well. You may see some text messages from me. Please respond to those that you will be at your testing site. It is required and it is in person. So the Indiana has 3 requirements, 3 buckets to graduate from high school. They can earn a high school diploma, learn and demonstrate employability skills, have post-secondary ready competencies. The new digital SAT assessment, which we're taking in the spring, is one of the ways that they can fulfill a graduation requirement for that post-secondary readiness competencies. There are other ways to fulfill that bucket, but since the state requires that all students take the SAT who are in the 11th grade, it's one of the easiest ways to fulfill that bucket. So SAT is a 1-day testing. It's about a 2-hour and 34 minutes test with a 10-minute break there in between. Our time and a half accommodations, it is still less. It's about just over 3.5 hours if they have time and a half for both. If they only have time and a half for math, it's about 3 hours and 9 minutes. So less than 4 hours of testing for everyone. So please, again, make sure that you're confirming via the email that came from Testing Nirvana, emails that come from your site leads, calls or texts. Please return those. I will say that missing testing or any rescheduled days will count as unexcused. At 10 unexcused, the withdrawal process can happen and your student won't be a student with us anymore. So just show up for the testing. That makes everybody's life easier. A little bit about the test. It is 2 parts to each section. You have a reading and writing section and a math section, and that each of those have 2 parts. Reading and writing has a total of 54 questions, and the math has 44 questions. For math proficiency, they need a score of about 530. For reading, they need a score of 480, an overall score of 1120 is what we consider to be proficient, or 1130 is what is considered to be proficient. To get that score, we've been communicating to students that they need to do really well on part 1, module 1 of each of the reading and math section, because that is what sets the score range. And then module 2 sets where they fall within that score range. So it's really important they take the first part of the test very seriously, and the second part kind of determines where they're at in that range. So to get that 530 in math, to be proficient, you need to answer about 23 questions right, I've been told, and reading proficiency is about 27. So 50% of the questions right to be considered proficient and on the test to get what is considered a passing score. If your student wants to practice for the SAT, they can create a College Board account, and then they can use that College Board account to log into the same application that they're going to take on test day. It's called Blue Book. Blue Book is where they're going to take it on test day. They can log in with their testing ticket, or they can log in with their College Board account. If they create a College Board account, they can send their scores off to colleges. Once you've installed it onto your device, it will give you access to 4 free practice tests. And your students have been given this link. It's been sent out. It's in a s'more. It's in this presentation right now. You can Google Blue Book and you can download that, and you can create a College Board account. The second test I want to talk about today is for our high school and for our middle school. It is iLearn. iLearn is an acronym. It's Indiana's Learning Evaluation Assessment Readiness Network, which abbreviates down to iLearn. It's a summative accountability assessment for Indiana students in grades 3 through 8 and high school biology. So if your student is a high schooler who is in the second semester of biology right now, they are also required to test. iLearn measures their students' achievement and growth according to our Indiana academic standards, and it is required for all 7th and 8th grade students to take it, and all high school students currently in biology. So iLearn has 4 levels of scoring. They can be at level 1 below proficiency, level 2 approaching proficiency, level 3 at proficiency, or level 4 above proficiency. We would like to see our students at level 3 and 4. That's what we're shooting for. To talk a little bit about the dates of the iLearn tests. iLearn will be April 15th for the biology. That's only high school students. April 16th through the 19th for the middle school students, 7th and 8th graders. 7th and 8th grade takes ELA and math. 8th grade takes ELA and math. And then our high school students, 9th through 12th, take only biology. So on the first day of testing on April 15th, biology students only. On the April 16th, 17th, 18th, we will have day 1 will be a ELA CAT. Day 2 will be ELA PT 1 and 2. And then day 3 will be our math day. We do require that all learning coaches bring their students to the test sites. Just a little information for you. Bring a jacket or a coat or something. Rooms can be hot or cold. We're not sure what you'll get on test day. You can bring a snack. We ask that you do not bring any peanuts. They can have those items underneath their desks during the test and eat them during break times. And that is for SAT and iLearn. If you have a photo ID, a student ID, if you ordered that, please bring that with you. You will be required to sign your student in and out after the test. So come inside, sign in, make sure your phone numbers are updated with the site lead, and then they will call you when your student is finished. For SAT, your student has to be there on either March 4th or March 5th. March 4th if you don't have any accommodations, or March 5th if you have an accommodation like that time and a half. That's when you're going to be there. Again, please bring ID, or we will be confirming your student's identity in some way at the time of the test. So at this time, this is all I have for testing. Thank you very much for your time.
So I am back. So, grader, a 7th grader, or a high schooler that is currently in biology, please reach out to me if no one's reached out to them about testing, as well as 11th grader, because they have to do SAT testing the beginning of March. That's really important to remember because they have to take testing in person. And it's not something that could just be waived. They have to do the testing in person. So, with that being said, we're going to move on from testing. If you have any questions you haven't thought of about testing, or if you have some questions that come up, please take down my contact information. I shared that in this slide, and I can direct you to the people that you need to talk to so you can talk more about testing, location, and how to confirm. So let's move on to talk more about emergency housing. So navigating emergency housing in Indiana is a little difficult. So I've listed various resources you could go to first to navigate housing. I always tell people it's great that you have these people in your community that you could go to because you'll want to go to them. You go to your churches, go to your schools, go to your universities, go to your departments of commerce as well as your trustees because they'll all have resources locally in your community. But these are great statewide resources to utilize as well. The interesting thing about HCCA is that we have students from all over the state, whether that be way up in Lake County or way down in Evansville. We work to provide you resources. So these are just statewide resources. But again, if you need something more local and more tailored to your situation, please reach out to me because we can work to get you a list more tailored to you. But there are 3 resources I love to use for statewide help. So the first one is 211. It's a great resource for everything, but it's specifically for shelters because they can provide you information on shelters that have current openings in your area, also provide you with a tailored list and text it to you directly. So if you're in a situation where it may be an emergency, they're great resources because the only thing you have to do is dial 211 or dial the number above, which is 866-211-9966, and you can be guided to assistance to look for shelters. Another resource is through ICADV, which stands for Indiana Coalition Against Domestic Violence. They're a statewide hotline. Essentially, what it does is it connects you if you are fleeing domestic violence with the nearest domestic violence shelter to you. It helps you figure out transportation to get to that shelter immediately. This line does operate 24/7 and it's used if you're in a dangerous situation. So please call them immediately if you need assistance, as well as findhelp.org, which provides you with those other things you may need if you're currently experiencing homelessness, such as housing, clothes, and other essential items. So those are the 3 resources I love to use. Again, if you need something more tailored, please reach out to me. Let's talk a little bit about homelessness and what resources may be available to you if you're in a specific type of situation. So there's something called the coordinated entry system. What this is, it's used to connect people who are at risk for experiencing homelessness to services and different housing resources. Now, through this system, all households in need of homeless services can be connected through different providers through a centralized assessment process. What this assessment looks like is you go into one of these centers or essentially doing an online application or over the phone application and them ask you various questions to assess your vulnerability and your situation to see if you qualify. There's a few key things you can get from this coordinated entry assessment. You can get assistance with fees related through housing. I mean, you can get assistance with move-in fees. You can get assistance with paying so many months of your rent up until you figure out your financial situation. Or you can get assistance with possible prioritization for subsidized housing, meaning Section 8 programs or income-based housing. And you get access to case management to work to build scales to not only gain housing, but keep housing. So it's a really great thing if you're able to access it. Now, this component is really important. It does serve a very specific population. It serves anyone at risk or currently literally homeless can be connected through the system. So, but it does designate a lot of its funds to people that are actually living unsheltered or in temporary homeless shelters. So that's important to remember. So even if you aren't currently in a homeless shelter or living unsheltered, please still reach out to them to see if there's anything they can provide you. However, there are a lot of resources that are specifically tailored to those living unsheltered and in temporary housing shelter first. So that's something to note. For no more information, please reach out to me directly so I can guide you to the nearest location where you may be able to complete a coordinated entry assessment. It's really important to reach out to me so I can connect you with the right one because there's lots of them throughout the state and they all specialize in various things. So I'd rather you come through me and we figure out the right one rather than you have to go to different ones. Let's talk a little bit about homeless youth resources. So when talking about homeless youth resources, I'm talking about resources for students age 14 to 24. I know we stop at 21, but their services do go 14 to 24. Essentially, these are available for youth that have had to leave housing for various reasons and they have nowhere to go. There's a lot of resources throughout the state, but these are the four I really love. I did note specific locations this time. So I noted two programs, two different areas. I love their programs in. One's in Indianapolis and one is Johnson County. And the third is through a statewide resource. So the first one I noted was the youth hotline. It's a great resource because you could call them. It's another 24/7 hotline any time of day if you are needing assistance and if you're between the ages of 14 and 24 and you're facing homelessness. And they could work out figuring out housing, how to get you connected with emergency housing, how to figure out how to get you case management, and how to work through whatever you're going through at that age. I also noted Stopover, which is another Indianapolis program, which is actually a shelter that provides supportive services and any case management for youth experiencing homelessness. They also deal with the coordinated entry assessment there because youth are able to take that. So please, if you're in the Marion County area or any of those surrounding donut counties, Johnson, Hendricks, Hamilton, please look into Stopover as a resource. And Kick It, which is essentially it offers a homeless shelter, it offers case management and drop-in services at the youth center and tutoring. Drop-in services can look like picking up food. They offer showers, they offer computer services, and case management while you drop into the youth center. And you can access them by essentially going to their website, kickit.org. The statewide program that I absolutely adore, if you are a youth age 14 to 24 and you're looking for housing, or if you've been kicked out for whatever reason, or you've lost housing for whatever reason, you could go through our cross support system navigators, which is essentially our homeless youth regional program. Now, specifically, there's a navigator assigned to every single region, so it covers the entire state. And these people's specific job is to work through and figure out different resources available to you to connect you with resources in your local communities. They're very good because they have experience working through public school systems and different service providers. I provided a list. You could go look it up at indiana.gov as well as use the website in this PowerPoint presentation. If for whatever reason you cannot find it, please reach out to me. I can send you the list directly. And domestic violence shelters. So domestic violence shelters are a really unique shelter in the sense that most shelters are either domestic violence, youth shelters, geared toward family, or men's shelters. Domestic violence shelters kind of have different policies that allow people to be in there and are specifically tailored to keep people safe. So our state has 44 total programs that exist to assist those fleeing domestic violence. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it actually is because we actually serve majority counties in the state through some type of domestic violence shelter, meaning that there's programs in St. Joseph, Rush, Marion, Hamilton, Monroe, Morgan. The list is really long, but that's not all that's on the list. There's actually many more that I have listed on this PowerPoint that assist people fleeing domestic violence. So again, if you have any doubt in your mind that there may not be a service that's close to you, please reach out to me so we can locate something. Um, there's two hotlines you could also call: a National Domestic Violence Hotline, and it gives you resources all over the country. And I already talked a little bit about the Indiana Center Against Domestic Violence Hotline, which essentially provides resources for those 24/7 in Indiana. It helps you locate things that make sense for your needs and how you can get there now. So it's a little bit more tailored to being a very emergent situation. So again, if you have any questions or concerns about domestic violence, please reach out to me. And finally, let's talk a little bit about our school and what we do for families that may be experiencing transition or be homeless. So McKinney-Vento. So McKinney-Vento is essentially a law that was made to protect families currently in transition or currently in transition from housing. What it does is ensure that barriers are removed to make sure your student can get the most out of their education. So if you are in any of these following state situations, meaning staying with one or more family member in a house or apartment due to loss of housing, economic hardship, or a similar reason, we call it doubled up, please reach out to me. If you're in a shelter, which is family, domestic, youth, or transitional program, reach out to me. If you are in a motel or hotel or weekly housing that is temporary due to your housing situation, please let me know. If you're in an abandoned building, a car, a bus station, a campground, or the streets, or any other inhabitable place, let me know. Or if your housing lacks electricity, water, heat, or proper structure, let me know. Because that means you may qualify for McKinney-Vento as well as their protections. And we want to reach out to you and make sure these services are available to you. So please reach out to me. Even if you're not sure about the program or sure if you qualify, please reach out to me because I have to do an additional assessment to qualify you anyway. So you can email me at vroberts@hoosieracademy.org, or you can reach me by phone at 463-900-538, extension 4030. You can also text me as well from that same number. Perfect. So this is the end of our presentation. It's really short because I love to leave time for any questions or concerns. Again, here's my contact information. You have my email as well as my text number and my phone number and my hours of operation. Now, again, guys, I know that our program in our state is really unique. I mean, our program in our school is really unique in the event that we have kids from all over the state, meaning that if you need more direct resources, please reach out to me. Those are my hours of operation, but if you need to deviate a little bit, please reach out to me in advance. I can figure out a time that makes sense to meet with you to talk to you about resources. So if anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to ask it now. I'm available. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about the presentation, about testing? Okay, perfect. I'm getting no questions. Well, you guys are free to go. Again, I'm always a resource. You can reach out to me at any time if you have any questions about research in your community or even just questions about HCCA. And this presentation will be recorded and sent out in the monthly newsletter next month as well. So we have these presentations about once a month, every third Wednesday, about different topics. Next month, I will be discussing a little bit more in emergency housing as well as some emergency food assistance. Oh, and FAFSA. We'll be discussing that next month. So feel free to chime in again and look for the link in the next newsletter. Okay, great. I'll wait a few minutes and I'll stay here and hang back. If you guys don't have any questions, you're free to go. But if you do, just type in the chat or just pop on your mic and I'm here to answer questions.